Hello, this is Sophomore Astrology. My name is Sarah, and for this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 main aspects in astrology. Now, be sure to share, like, and comment on this video, subscribe to my channel. You can find me on Instagram at Sophomore Astrology, and then I also have a website, sophomoreastrology.com. There, you can message me for a birth chart reading if you would like. And then you can also find my blog there. I post on Wednesdays. I just write about random, spiritual downloads that I'm having, so you can read those and check those out if you would like. Now, to get into the video, within astrology, there are 5 main aspects. And when I was trying to understand even my own chart, the aspects can kind of like be a little bit more difficult to wrap your head around, because once you kind of understand the planets' placements, you want to know how the planets interact with one another, because those energies will bring light to who you are, as a person, and especially when it comes to your birth chart. And so the 5 main aspects that I'm going to talk about are conjunction, opposition, trine, sextile, and square. So we're going to get into this video now. So the first aspect I'm going to talk about is not technically an aspect. We have conjunction here, and conjunction means that 2 planets have 0 degrees between each other. They're right up on top of each other, or right next to each other in the birth chart. And also too, I have read also some places too that conjunction just means that it's less than 5 degrees. So they're really, really close to each other. So conjunction is basically when 2 planets are right next to each other. They're at 0 degrees of each other. So if you're trying to understand the relationship between 2 planets, here it depends, on the 2 planets that you're looking at. Because conjunction can be a very favorable aspect or energy that a person could have in their birth chart if both of those planets are known to get along. Like say if you have your moon is in conjunction with your Venus. Moon and Venus really like each other as 2 planets. They have like the same gender and everything like that. So they're pretty much they're very similar in energies. So they're not going to cause too much friction. But say you have your conjunction and it's between Venus and Mars. It's a little bit more difficult because Venus and Mars are very polaring energies. And that will cause friction and a little bit of conflict there. So conjunction really matters depending on the 2 planets that are right next to each other. The visual I kind of give is just being stuck with someone next to someone for a 16, 17 hour road trip, right? Depending on the relationship with those 2 people, they could be in each other's energies all the time, every day, all forever and ever. Some people are just like that, where they're okay with being in each other's spaces and each other's bubbles. But conjunction can go awry if those 2 people don't get along. They're always in arguments. They irritate the crap out of each other. That's kind of how conjunction works when 2 planets, depending on how much they get along or not. So that's conjunction. The next aspect that I'm going to talk about is opposition. Now, opposition is when 2 planets are at 180 degrees from each other. If you're looking at the zodiac wheel, that means that these 2 planets, the signs that they're in, the signs are on the complete opposite side of the zodiac wheel. So the 2 signs, also too, with it being opposite, just as in direction, being on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel, these signs are literally opposites of each other. When we're talking about the Hermetic principle of polarity here, these 2 signs, it's the difference between Aries and Libra, or Scorpio and Taurus. These 2 energies are trying to find balance with each other because they're on opposite sides, or they're the polar extremes of that energy, right? So the way that this would kind of translate in regular life is that if 2 people are talking, right? And the way that this conversation will go is that they will be talking about the same topic, or there's a topic of discussion, and they will be on polar opposites of the topic. They'll have polaring opinions, and one will say one thing, but the other person will say the opposite very thing. And this will kind of create a discomfort and an obstruction with the flow of these energies. But the purpose of this type of energy and the lesson learned from opposition is to really kind of take both sides of the spectrum and find a balance on the in between. So yeah, that's pretty much opposition. You know, they're just so far away from each other. They're the furthest away on the zodiac wheel. They're 6 signs away. So that's why it's a little bit more difficult for this energy to kind of come together, because they're exploring polarity here. So that's opposition. The next aspect I'm going to talk about is trine. Now, trine is known to be a more favorable, the most favorable aspect that you could have, because the reason why trine works is that it means that 2 planets are in signs and the signs are in the same element. So yeah, trine is at 120 degrees, and because they're of the same element, it's like the energies just kind of get each other right away. When I mean element, if you're not familiar, is that each zodiac sign falls underneath an element. So for water, you have, Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer. For fire, you have Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. For earth, you have Virgo, Capricorn, and what's the third one? Taurus. And then for air, you have Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. So when 2 planets are in trine with one another, they have this relationship. It's because the energies that both of the planets are in, they're in the same element. So they kind of just understand each other right off the bat. You know, these 2 planets are also 4 signs away from each other. So there's enough difference. I mean, there's enough distance and there's enough closeness to still be relatable to one another, right? Yeah, and it just kind of creates a very smooth, stable relationship. These people will talk to each other and they will get each other right away. You know, there's not any friction with being understood. The communication just flows. Ebb and flow is very in effect in this with this energy going on here. So yeah, that's trine in a nutshell. Trine is just easygoing, and also kind of see trine as these are 2 energies that you probably have learned in a past life how to make very cohesive and get along very well. You probably have worked to make this energy flow, you know, because energy is not created nor destroyed. So that's my take on trine. Okay, so next we have sextile. And when someone has 2 planets that are in sextile of each other, that means that they have different elements, but they're of the same gender or the same temperature if you're talking about temperament. Okay, so sextile also means that these 2 planets are at 60 degrees from each other. So there is like a fluidity and there's an ease here. The 2 planets are in agreement with each other. I kind of think of sextile as like 2 friends talking about a topic, and they might have 2 different angles, but they agree still at the end of the day about the conversation at hand, you know? They might have a different tone, a different way, metaphor of explaining it. They might come out of it from like a different angle, but at the end of the day, they're on the same page. You know, this is being the same page, even though there's 2 different authors here writing the page, or if you will. You know, also 2 sextile means that these 2 planets are 2 signs away. So it's still kind of in close proximity. Like I said, it's a little bit closer together, but like I said, because they're of the same gender and also but different elements, it still creates enough friction to keep the relationship or the energy ebbing and flowing, with it not being too conflicting, if that makes sense. So yeah, sextile, I kind of consider the difference between trine and sextile is that sextile is more like you have these tools in your arsenal, or you have these tools ready to go. You know, trine is mostly like those 2 energies are just so cohesive with each other and they work so well that it's just like a subconscious flow. But sextile is more, I'm sorry, I can't talk for some reason. Sextile is more like, there's conscious effort to work together, but it's not like so much effort that is just overwhelming to get along. Get along with ease, but it might take a little conscious effort, but not too much. So yeah, that's sextile in a nutshell. Okay, so the last aspect I'm going to talk about is square. Now, square is when 2 planets are at a 90-degree angle from each other. When 2 energies are in square of each other, it could mean that they are incompatible because of the elements, because the elements that get along with each other, or that they're kind of like similar in ways, is earth and water like each other. They kind of get along a little bit more easily. And then fire and air are very similar, like I said, because fire and air are masculine and water and earth are feminine. Square happens when they're of different genders, but they could be of the same mode. So it's kind of like, the reason why this is so conflicting is because this is when two people, or two energies, two planets, are so alike in energies but they're different in ways that they can't seem to come together. So for example, say if you have a planet that's in Leo, but it's in square of another planet that's in Scorpio. Both Leo and Scorpio are fixed signs, but they are incompatible elements, with it being water and fire. So here you have, like, the way that this would play out in a conversation is that these people are usually people who trigger each other because they are very similar. These energies are very similar in the way that they behave, they move, and everything like that. The only difference is the elemental difference, but they're still singing the same song, but it's just at a different pitch. And that pitch difference is the reason why, this square could be so can cause so much conflict and so much friction, and even combativeness if we're talking about anything physical as well. So that's where square kind of can be a little bit tough. But the beautiful lesson that you learn from square is kind of being put in a tough place to learn to be better in the long run. You can't always learn from always being comfortable, and square creates an uncomfortable, I can't say that word, but it causes people to be uncomfortable in a good way. These are the aspects that help you to grow. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on the 5 main aspects in astrology. I hope you enjoyed this, and you have a good rest of your day.